It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Manic Monday, good evening Zimbabwe, and welcome to your favorite sports show, ZiFM Sport, on your favorite station, ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. What a weekend it was in the world of sport. If you're a football fan, it was a weekend of upsets. Doesn't matter which one is your favorite league. In La Liga, the two big teams, Real Madrid and Barcelona, both going down on a weekend when both chose to wear pink. Was it the color? Or was it the performance? We'll find out from the team in studio. Barry Menandi, Christine Midzi, Alois Munjira, our producer Sean Tafidenyika, and my name is Mike Madoda. Elsewhere, Liverpool dropped points, or is it gained a point versus the league leaders Everton in the Merseyside derby? Arsenal going down, Tottenham dropping points in the last 10 minutes when they led 3-0, and Manchester United, a story of redemption for their skipper Harry Maguire and themselves, winning comfortably on the road in the northeast of England at St. James's Park. Those are the lead stories in the beautiful game, which is brought to you by Castle Lager, the Castle World Football Report, which will also take a look at the CAF Champions League semi-finals, where Pitso Mosimane has 1 foot in the final.
But ahead of that, there's so much more to look forward to. On the home front, Tony Munyonga was voted man of the match after his half-century helped Gladiators record their first win in the National Premier League yesterday. That, of course, is domestic cricket. And international sports news, new coach Ian Foster said the All Blacks set a marker with their convincing win over the Wallabies, but they must keep improving if they want to retain the Bledisloe Cup.
We'll take you around the world in 60, and we're going to start in Germany today, where US Open runner-up Alexander Zverev clinched the Cologne ATP title by beating Felix Auger-Aliassime 6-3, 6-3. We head over to the United Arab Emirates, where the Kings 11 Punjab beat holders Mumbai Indians as the Indian Premier League witnessed a second super over for the first time after skipper KL Rahul's heroics. And in the United States, Jason Kokrak came through a final round tussle with Xander Schauffele to claim a maiden PGA Tour title at the CJ Cup in Las Vegas.
But first, as always, we set the tone for the show with our power play. Today's Manic Monday. It's a bit of a flashback day because our selections are from some time ago. Here's AC/DC. This is Thunderstruck.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Now, we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on the weekend's action. Get in touch with us at ZiFM Sport on Twitter. You can also simply search for us by name: Christine Midzi, Barry Menandi, Mike Madoda, Sean Tafidenyika, Alois Bunjira, or Mark Pozzo if you want to have a chat with us direct. Anything out of the world of sport is our poison. Now, there's been plenty of cricket that's being played on the home front. The National Premier League is in full swing, and there was a shock on the cards as Gladiators recorded their first win in the NPL, beating the highly fancied Easterns by 19 runs at Mustare Sports Club. It looked like it was going to be all over for the Gladiators when they made 142 in 42 overs, bowled out before they could get to 45. But their bowlers launched a spirited fight back to dismiss Easterns for 123 in 32.2 overs. And the bowlers that did the damage: Malcolm Chukua, 3 for 18. Marshall Matimbe 2 for 31, and Tony Munyonga 1 for 26. Gladiators winning by 19 runs. Barry, that is the action from over the weekend. We must congratulate Gladiators, one of the new teams, as it were, one of the new clubs in the NPL, for recording a win over a heavily fancied Easterns. But surely there must be concern around the low-scoring nature of the majority of matches that we are watching or we have been seeing in the National Premier League.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Munyonga and his contribution, 64 runs, you think to yourself, oh, well, that's great. And you look at the total, 142, and then you look down the tail of the tape, as it were, and you're looking at many of the players failing to breach 15 runs. It starts to become primary school stuff, which is what you related it to a couple of weeks ago when this tournament launched off. And for the
there's been a good tussle between Bryden and Sir John Kennedy. You know, these were the scores that people were accustomed to when I was in grade 6 and grade 7.
Yes, and 142 would have been a good score. It would have been, the boys really showed up today. But the thing is that when we've got our premier club competition giving us this sort of output, and also we're still, like you pointed out, one of the new franchises or new clubs in Gladiators, and also having the youth policy that they do, and these youth are scoring so lowly, it then makes us shudder a little bit about the future of Zimbabwe cricket.
Chris, are you concerned about the quality of the players that we've got in the National Premier League? And I know we commended Zimbabwe cricket for getting club cricket going again, but when you take a look at some of the performances that Barry has just mentioned and some of those scores, you know, Tony Munyonga 64, high scorer on the day. I think Baxton Gopito of Easterns made 43, but after that you've got Definite Mawadzi 28, and then you get into below 20 in terms of the scoring. Surely at club cricket is when you should be seeing the high scores, you should be seeing the brilliant performances, because the level of competition isn't that high.
It's not that high, and we should definitely be seeing much better scores. We should be seeing much better cricket than we are at the moment. And I think we can attribute that to the fact that we've seen almost an entire generation with broken structures in terms of cricket. We haven't been doing as much as we should at lower levels in terms of cricket. And it's evident now when you get to club cricket, which is where we're supposed to then be making this broad selection of players for the national team that are supposed to be feeding into the national team. We want a better selection. But if this is what we have to choose from, then I think it's going to take a little bit longer to, first of all, get the type of quality that we'd want, and also for this to be an entire project that feeds into the national team. So it's concerning, but it's also a result of historical problems.
There were other matches that were played over the weekend, and here are your results. Takashinga securing a very emphatic 8-wicket victory over great Zimbabwe Patriots. Hardly any surprises there. Rainbow Sharks beat Queens by 37 runs, and Midwest beat Amakosi by 4 wickets. Coming up, your local sports news roundup, golf, athletics, and of course an update out of the Warriors camp. And then we go rugby in our international sports news.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
Let's start our local sports news roundup with golf, where Royal Harare golfer Robson Chinoi won his first event on the Safari Tour after he scooped the series' second leg competition following a brilliant final round of 5 under par 67 at the par 72 Royal Nairobi Golf Club course in Kenya. The Zimbabwean shot rounds of 71, 72, 69 and that remarkable 67 to win the event by 9 shots ahead of local boy Samuel Njoroge after carding an overall 9 under par 279 score. On to athletics news, coach Sifas Pasipamire says Olympics hopeful Fortunate Chidziwo stands a good chance of qualifying for the Global Sports Showcase next year. This follows an encouraging performance at the World Athletics Half Marathon Championships over the weekend. Chidziwo ran 1 hour, 10 minutes and 50 seconds, setting a new national record in the process. At the event held on Saturday in Gdynia, Poland, she finished on position 27. Kenya's Perez Jepchirchir came first in 1 hour, 5 minutes and 16 seconds. Wrap it up with a Warriors update. As Mike pointed out earlier, Warriors coach Zdravko Loga Logarosic is unfazed by the prospect of facing red-hot African champions Algeria, who are currently riding high on a 20-match unbeaten run ahead of the two teams' back-to-back 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers next month. The Croatian gaffer says he has been closely monitoring the Desert Foxes ahead of the qualifiers and reckons it'll be a mammoth task for him to navigate past them, considering that he is yet to fully comprehend the full-strength Warriors squad.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
International rugby is the fulcrum, the very pith of our discussion around international sports news. A new coach, Ian Foster, said the All Blacks hit a marker with their convincing win over the Wallabies, but they must keep improving if they want to retain the Bledisloe Cup. The 4 tries to 1, 27-7 win in Auckland was much needed by New Zealand after they began the 4-match series with a disappointing draw last week in Wellington, and that was Foster's first game in charge. Let's hear from All Black captain Sam Cane, who was pleased with his side's performance.
Yeah, look, we focused very much internally in what we can control, and we came out Monday, Tuesday with a couple of really clear focuses, and I think you would have seen tonight we really challenged our full pack to take them on up front. A lot of our big boys doing a lot of hard work, carrying hard, cleaning hard, tightening them up and creating a wee bit of space. So, look, typical Aussie fashion, they did not roll over. We had a little rich period of about 10 or so minutes after half-time, which I was really pleased with because it was a focus after the break. And then we just managed to hang in there. It would have been nice to put a few more on them, but that's test match footy.
Z.
Mikey, having watched that game, hearing Ian Foster saying that the All Blacks need to improve, and they might need to, but they look like a well-oiled machine, in particular, the sensational Caleb Clark.
I think it's ominous for World Rugby, Barry, the fact that they could put on such a show versus the Wallabies. They showed just in 7 days how much they can improve, and they're talking about taking it a notch further with more improvement in the pipeline, and you can see that it'll come. And the reason why, Barry, is because of that famous pipeline that New Zealand rugby has. 12 months ago, we wouldn't have been talking about Caleb Clark. No one knew of Caleb Clark, and here he is now, the new star of world rugby, and it looks like he's going to have a barnstorming career. And if you take a look at that performance versus the Wallabies, I mean, the man was on fire, and he does have the pedigree. You remember, he's the son of Eroni Clark, who is an All Black, so his dad certainly knew how to play the game. His dad was a hard runner, very difficult to bring down, and also decent ball skills. So Caleb Clark has sort of like doubled up on the genes, as it were, and he looks like, and you know what, I'm hesitant to say this, but he reminds me of Jonah Lomu. When Jonah Lomu was storming on the team, Caleb Clark has got that in him. You know, those big thighs, you know, there was the one storming run he made from his own 22 into the opposition 22. I think the one that set up the try for Adi Savea. The way he broke through tackles, I think he broke through 4 or 5 tackles, came down, got up again, made another break. I mean, that reminds me of Jonah Lomu. This is 19-year-old Jonah Lomu when he stormed onto the scene. We're seeing the reincarnation.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, I had that as well. And listen, we all know as sports pundits, we try not to assign historical greatness to current players, but it's so hard to do with Caleb Clark, Chris, because this man, Dave Rennie, the Wallabies coach, says that there was too many errors in the Wallabies performance, 40 missed tackles. But you got to say that many of those missed tackles were as a direct result of that bus, that Gonyet running through the Wallabies defense called Caleb Clark.
Definitely. And what's incredible about him is the fact that, like you mentioned, like Mike mentioned, he's 21 years old. He's just come on. He made his debut last week, and that was just a 10-minute cameo. We got a brief sort of look at what he could do. But coming into this week, you can see he's almost gone strength 10, and he's put up another incredible performance. And it's the kind of performance that this is your second performance with the All Blacks, but you're able to make that much impact. Then I think sometimes it's justifiable to make some of these historical comparisons, because he's made an absolute, I don't know what to call it, incredible performance. And it's something that we can look at and say, these are some of the players that we're going to continue to see come from the All Blacks pipeline.
Barry, another guy who's not going to get a lot of mentions is the captain, Sam Cane. I know all the plaudits will go, of course, to Caleb Clark, to Adi Savea, because they are the star players. But I thought the skipper led from the front. He was an absolute beast in this game, and he got his just reward by scoring that try that really put some gloss on the scoreline, you know, the one that made it 27-7. He was fantastic. Ball in hand, at the breakdown, decisions that he made, and this is in comparison to the Wallabies. I thought the Wallabies, I think they believed too much of the hype of last weekend's result, that 16-all draw, and they tried to go too attacking instead of having a test match approach to the game. So they left points on the board because there were at least 4 kickable opportunities that they butchered because they insisted on going on the attacking line out, which never paid off against an All Blacks defense, which was really up for it. So they could have at least got 12, 15 points if they just played safe rugby, kicked for the points when they came their way.
Yeah, sometimes you may not consider what didn't happen rather than what happened, because if there's true consideration by the Wallabies, they will consider the opportunities that were missed by the All Blacks last week and think to themselves, we dodged a bullet, we could have actually gone down, rather than thinking to themselves, we missed a penalty late on and we could have won this match outright. Nonetheless, the story is quite simple. All Blacks, normal service has been resumed, and we're proud to say for many years to come, hopefully, we will be watching a potentially a legendary player in Caleb Clark if he carries on this trajectory. Certainly, it's bringing up excitement. The final 2 games of the series will be played in Australia as part of the Tri-Nations, also involving Argentina and New Zealand, have held the Bledisloe Cup since 2003. And for me, I can't see them releasing the grasp that they've got on that cup. We take you around the world in 60 next.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Only DSTV brings you the very best football action. Catch all the action from the most popular league in the world, the English Premier League, with some of the world's biggest stars in Sadio Mane, Harry Kane, Sergio Aguero, and Virgil van Dijk. Catch all the action on the brand new SuperSport Premier League channel on channel 223. We have the world's best football, only on DSTV.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We'll take off in Germany, where the US Open runner-up Alexander Zverev clinched the Cologne ATP title by beating Felix Auger-Aliassime 6-3, 6-3. The German world number 7 claimed his 3rd ATP Tour win on home soil as 3rd seed Auger-Aliassime lost his 6th successive final. Auger-Aliassime, who's 20, overcame 2nd seed Roberto Bautista Agut in the semi-final, but failed to repeat his performance against Zverev. We'll head over to the United Arab Emirates, where the Kings 11 Punjab beat holders Mumbai Indians as the Indian Premier League witnessed a second super over for the first time after skipper KL Rahul's heroics. Rahul smashed 77 or 51 deliveries as Punjab equaled Mumbai's score of 176 in the second match of the day, after the opening game also ended in a tie. Punjab and Mumbai remained level after the first super over, with paceman Mohammad Shami keeping down Rohit Sharma led Mumbai to 5 runs. Chris Gayle and Mayank Agarwal then combined to get their team's 12th run target after Mumbai managed 11 for 1 in the second super over of the match and the third of the day. We'll touch down in the United States, where Jason Kokrak came through a final round tussle with Xander Schauffele to claim a maiden PGA Tour title at the CJ Cup in Las Vegas. The world number 53 carded 8 bogeys in a bogey-free 64 at Shadow Creek to finish on 20 under and 2 ahead of his playing partner Schauffele, who held at least a share of the lead for large part of the final round. Kokrak's long-awaited breakthrough came in his 233rd PGA Tour start and secures him an invite to next year's Masters and PGA Championship, with the win also lifting him inside the world's top 30 for the first time.
The Castle Premier Soccer League, La Liga, Serie A, the English Premier League, the Bundesliga. It all comes together with the Castle on the Castle Lager World Football Report.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
Now, there have been plenty of goals since the season started in England, and this weekend was no different. Just taking a look at your results, plenty of goals to talk about. Chelsea and Southampton, 6-goal thriller, that one ending 3-3. Newcastle United put to the sword by Manchester United at St. James's Park, 4-1. Sheffield United, they look like they're struggling this season. They played fellow strugglers Fulham, and it ended in a 1-1 draw. Same scoreline between Crystal Palace and Brighton, whilst Leicester were upended by Aston Villa 1-0. Let me get your thoughts, Barry, on Aston Villa. It's now 4 out of 4 for Dean Smith's men. And if people thought that, listen, that 7-2 victory over Liverpool was something of an anomaly, they've followed it up with a very impressive win on the road at Leicester.
Yeah, Dean Smith has got Aston Villa getting important results, getting the wins that they need. They're 4 out of 4. A perfect record. You can't argue against that. So, listen, I'll eat my humble pie quite easily and I say that Dean Smith is a hell of a coach and doing a phenomenal job with Aston Villa. He's brought in a few pieces, Ross Barkley being one of them on loan from Chelsea and delivering the goal that they sorely needed yesterday over Leicester City. So, yeah, Aston Villa's purring.
Alois, with some of those midfield options, Barry's just mentioned Ross Barkley, the man who was brought in late on by Dean Smith to show up the midfield. And then you got the likes of McGinn as well, who's playing in there. Louise is playing in there. It looks like chances for our marvelous Nakamba are going to be few and far in between. He's going to have limited appearances off the bench.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Marvelous, Mike, as we see that they're cracking on, they are doing well, they are winning matches. When a team is winning matches and there are players that are playing in your positions and they're doing well, it's always going to be very difficult. But at the end of the day, Mike, it still remains up to Marvelous Nakamba to fight for his place into the team, because there will come a time when he's going to get a sniff in, he's going to get a chance. They will give him a chance. He will play in the Carabao Cup, he will play in those other cup matches. You will just need to prove that he is good enough. He still has training. They still go to training, they still train, and the fact that he has been kept in the team, he has got the chance to prove himself. If he is not playing, it's all up to him. It means that the other players are better than him. So for me, it's still in his hands. He has to do it, or else he will just have to watch other players doing it. But the unfortunate part is Villa is doing well, and the guys that are playing in his position are playing well. So it's going to be an uphill task for him.
Let's go to the two North London clubs who experienced something of a setback this past weekend. Arsenal going down at the Etihad to Manchester City. Raheem Sterling scoring in the first half to bag all 3 points for Pep Guardiola, as he did a number over his protege Mikel Arteta. And then Tottenham Hotspur, they led 3-0 early on and then threw it all away in the final 10 minutes of that game, drawing 3-0 with West Ham. It was a game that marked Gareth Bale's return to the English Premier League. Now, Jose Mourinho says that he prefers to praise West Ham for their comeback rather than criticize his side for throwing a 3-0 lead late on.
For you, I prefer just to say that football happened. and I prefer to praise West Ham belief, because it's not easy to be losing 3-0 and to be, let's say, dominated because we had the game under control. It's not easy to keep the belief. I knew that they are a complete different team this season than they were last season. So I give them credit, but of course to concede 3 goals and to lose an advantage of 3 goals is a big punishment and eventually deserved.
Chris, Jose preferring to take a look at the positives, and the positives regards West Ham, but listen, he'll be left under no illusions as to the very brittle nature of Tottenham. They have a bit of a soft underbelly.
Bit of a soft underbelly, and very evident in this particular match. He says he'd like to focus on the fact that, West Ham really brought it back, especially that late into the game. But I think it's also important for him to look at the fact that his team literally threw away a 3-0 lead, especially that far into the game. They should have been able to hold on to that. We've been seeing improvements game in, game out with Spurs, and they should have been able to hold on. So I don't understand why he'd like to focus on that instead of addressing the issue within his own team. Maybe he's protecting his own players as he's speaking to the media, but I think for me, it's important for him to take a look at that team and fix up.
Barry, in the first half, people were talking about a possible title tilt, a title challenge, or dark horses for the title. That conversation had changed at the end of 90 minutes. People were saying, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not from a perspective that the players who have come in particular Gareth Bale, and I'm not saying that one player can wreck the entire fluidity of a team, but it certainly can wreck the balance of a team. You saw that when Gareth Bale came on as a second half substitute, the work rate dropped in the Spurs side, and they needed to work hard because they were playing a side that was actually in the game. So for me, Jose Mourinho has got to get the work right through the 18, not necessarily the 11 that show up as the starting team. It's got to be right through the 18, even when he calls on his bench, so that he can get the results. Gets that work ethic, Tottenham can certainly make dents and begin to push for a top 4 finish.
Alois, in their captain Harry Kane and in Son, they've got 2 of the most informed players in the league right now from an attacking sense. So they're full of goals. Their attack is looking really good. It looks like the work that Jose needs to put in is in the defense.
Of course, Mike. Actually, it's actually funny to actually think that we are saying that Jose must work on his defense because the striking department is actually doing well. Because we know that he is the master of parking the bus. Everybody knows that Jose is the master of defensive tactics. So he needs to do it at Tottenham Hotspur. Probably he is worried that if he does that, then he's going to limit his attackers from going forward as much as they can. But I don't know. He has to come up with a very, very good strategy to actually see to it that they don't leak goals. As much as they are scoring, they need to defend. Like you are saying, you talked about Song, you talked about Kane. There's also Gareth Bale waiting in the wings. He needs to start cracking on as well. So going forward, they are very healthy and they can actually challenge. Look, this is the team that challenged, that went all the way with Leicester. Remember, they were fighting against Leicester. They almost won. And the team has not changed a lot from that team. So they are capable. They can do it. So let's just wait and see how he can sort out his defense. Once he does that, so like Barry said, they can certainly fight for the top 4.
Absolutely. Well, one team that certainly is fighting for the top 4 is Everton, the Toffees of Merseyside. They lead the way in the English Premier League after playing out a 2-2 draw with Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. Chris, this is a game that Liverpool were left licking their wounds literally after injuries to season-ending injury possibly to the league's best defender, Virgil van Dijk, and Thiago Alcantara. At least he's been cleared of serious injuries, and it looks like Everton came in with a very aggressive approach in this game.
Everton definitely came in with a very, very physical approach to the game. If you take a look then at some of the calls that were made in regards to Everton playing such a physical game, I think there were a lot of questions around the refereeing, around the decisions being made in that particular match. But to be able to, first of all, cause that much harm to Virgil van Dijk, I think is something that should have definitely been looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something now, Barry, that Klopp will be looking at and just taking a look at the players he's got at his disposal. And there's a big conversation now that's happening around the refereeing, because a lot of the decisions, even from a technological point of view, very difficult to fathom.
Yeah, the whole decision-making protocol needs to be looked at, because if you're going to then rule that the Van Dijk and Pickford collision, the incident before that is offside, you're going to rule that Jordan Henderson's goal in stoppage time was offside for Mane, and nobody can see where your offsides are. You've got a serious challenge, especially when you then replay it with drawing the lines of VAR and all sorts. So I think that now the whole of the footballing side needs to push back on the referees so that they become a lot more responsible. This is becoming endemic. We saw bits of it last season. Now it's becoming a lot more prominent, and I think that the referees need to be held to account, and hopefully this will be the start of it.
Well, let's take a look at the Z Fantasy League, guys, because who did well here? Whose thing? Did anyone beat me? Alois, I know you did fairly well. I think Alois, how many?
I had 71 for this
71.
one.
So I think from us four, Alois is possibly the highest earner, surely, on points.
Yeah, it's definitely not me.
I had 68.
Yeah. I'm on 53.
I got Harry Kane and Rashford doing the business for me.
I must confess, I've been leading people up the thicket because I've been recommending players, and then I've been changing my mind. So I changed my mind again this time, and I got Harry Kane. So I scored some points.
So Mike, you are now banned for the next 2 weeks from giving captain's picks on a Friday.
Yes, please, don't ask me.
Way too much.
Don't ask me. But let's take a look at the Z Fantasy League, and it's congratulations to the three players that are leading the way. Musololi Mutale, you are in first position, 372 points, followed closely behind by Eric Aselfi with 370. Clive Runganga is in third place on 367 points. Barry, the weekend star. That's the only order of business that's left for us in the Premier League. Who was your standout performer?
Look, he's had a tough time since arriving to the Blues of London. People saying that, did they actually get the right man? Can he cut it in the English Premier League? And I think this season, this weekend, he actually showed it. And that man is Timo Werner. I think with 2 goals and an assist, I think that shows what exactly Chelsea bought. And I'm glad that Kai Havertz had a better game as well. He's another man who was under pressure. The Germans not having a good time of it at Chelsea, but hopefully this is a change. Who knows what Antonio Rudiger's life will look like in the coming weeks. So far, it hasn't been great.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Let's get into Italy. Your results from Serie A this past weekend. Lots of goals. Napoli 4-1 against Atalanta. Sampdoria 3-0 against Lazio. Crotone and Juventus 1-1. Andrea Pirlo's men actually laboring to that result, and the new gaffer calling for patience. Bologna went down 4-3 against Sassuolo. AC Milan's Zlatan Ibrahimovic recently recovered from the coronavirus, and he managed to score an early brace to secure a 2-1 win over neighbours Internazionale in Derby della Madonnina. Alois, you take a look at AC Milan with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Like I said, he's recently just had coronavirus. He's recovering and obviously putting in those goals for AC Milan, and the AC Milan is looking good.
Yeah, AC Milan is looking good, and I'm happy. I'm a fan of AC Milan, and I just want to see them winning. But well done to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. At his age, he's still cracking them on. He's still scoring goals. It's actually very, very impressive for a guy that age to still be scoring goals, especially in derbies like this. This is a big match for all over the world. This is actually a very big match. So it's actually quite good to see him doing that. But yeah, like I said, I'm an AC Milan fan, and I'm happy.
Mike, you take a look at their neighbours, and obviously they lost this particular match. Inter, where does this leave them with this kind of a loss against AC Milan?
Well, I think they'll be happy that it's happened at this stage of the season. It's still early days, so they're not out of it yet. But there will be concerns around the tinkering, the chopping and changing of their coach, Antonio Conte. He seems to have not settled on a starting 11, and it's important that he's able to identify the go-to players for the big games. Because right now what we've seen is that there has been a different starting 11 in each of the games that Inter has played.
The rest of your results: Spezia versus Fiorentina ended in a 2-2 draw. Cagliari 2-3 against Torino. Udinese with a 3-2 win against Parma, and Roma 5-2 against Benevento. Alois, if you take a look at Serie A, who would you say is the star of the week?
I think my star of the week should be one having Rodrigo Lozano. You know, he is the Napoli left winger. You know, they played against an Atlanta side that has been scoring goals, 4 goals at least in each of their last 3 matches, and they were just scoring goals for fun. But they managed to contain them, and they scored for themselves. You know, with Lozano scoring a double for AC Milan, for Napoli, and also creating a few more chances that he actually missed. But I was actually impressed by his creation of those chances, because he was in the right place at the right time, but the goalkeeper managed to save. So for me, I think he played a very big influential part in the destruction of Atlanta. So for me, having Rodrigo Lozano, my player of the week in Italy Serie A.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Let's go to Spain now, and shocks aplenty. We'll talk about this momentarily. Let's give you the weekend results. Granada 1-0 over Sevilla. Aiba 0-0 draw with Osasuna. Athletic Club of Bilbao 2-0 over Levante. Villarreal 2-1 over Valencia. Let's go to the one of the big three, the only one that won this past weekend, and that was Atletico Madrid. Luis Suarez and Yannick Carrasco getting the goals early and late in that game against Celta Vigo. So they'll be happy with themselves, especially earning coach Diego Simeone a 200th La Liga win in charge of the club. Alaves upended at home 2-0 by Elche. And then let's go to Real Madrid. Chris, Spanish champions, of course, they were suffered a shock defeat at home, 1-0 to promoted Cadiz on Saturday. That was the first La Liga defeat in over 7 months. Zinedine Zidane must be seething in the video room today.
He must absolutely be seething. I think if you take a look at the team they were playing against, that was a result that we would have expected to go the other way, and to also for them to score more, to actually score goals in this particular match. The fact that a team like Cadiz was able to keep them out and score a goal and walk away with that win, I think is very problematic for Real Madrid.
Extremely problematic, but if you want it to happen, it's got to happen at the start of the season. You have got time to fix it. Huesca 2-2 draw with Real Valladolid. Real Betis upended at home 3-0 by Real Sociedad, and it could have been worse because Sociedad actually missed a few chances. Now on to Barcelona. Now their head coach Ronald Koeman complained about a lack of respect during his team's surprise 1-0 defeat to Getafe, singling out Alan Nyom. Football pundit Alejandro Moreno almost agreeing with him, and he says that Barcelona have a fragile mentality right now.
The clear message that we saw from Barcelona today is how fragile this team is mentally at this point, where things were going well in the first half. And we are, okay, it's difficult to play against Getafe because they make it into a physical battle and everything is about a 50-50 challenge, but we're going to play through them. And eventually we're going to break through it. Barcelona, we're just kind of like, well, that's it. We got nothing. There's not much that we can provide now. And Getafe is just going to kick us around all over the field, and we're not going to react. We have nothing for you.
So a couple of things there, Alois. The fact that Nyom came out very aggressive against a lot of the Barcelona attackers, including Lionel Messi, and it seemed to get under their skin. Would you agree with that assertion of a fragile mentality?
Yes, but there are times, when you want to show that you have got mental strength, great mental strength, especially when you're actually facing with aggression. Usually, most of the time when you're playing against weaker opponents, the only weapon that they've got against you is going to be very brutal. They're going to be very aggressive. I think a lot of coaches, that's what they actually do. They make you very aggressive. You must be. So if you are the better side and you are facing that kind of aggression, you need to have that mental strength to actually go toe to toe. Sometimes you actually need to give it back. As much as you are getting it, give it back to them as well and show that you are very strong, and that will, it can actually make the other team back off and you start playing your game as well.
Yeah, surprising that Alan Nyom actually managed to finish the full 90 minutes. He was very aggressive in that game. But nonetheless, Getafe got the win that they wanted. In a weekend of shocks, Mikey, who would you say was the star of the week in Spain?
I have to look at the Real Madrid game, Barry, because, Real Madrid, they were up against Cadiz, newly promoted side. That victory of theirs, the first time that they've beaten Real Madrid since 1991. And the guy who scored the goal is Anthony Lozano. And it was a good goal too. So it just wasn't a goal. The execution, the technical execution of the goal, chipping Thibaut Courtois, who was in goal, shows you that, listen, he's a player who took his chance very well. So I'm going to make him the star of the week, because it's not every day that you can go to Madrid as a promoted side and bag all 3 points. That victory actually puts Cadiz joint top of La Liga with Real Madrid.
So, Italian star of the week, Lozano. Spanish star of the week, Lozano. We're not sure if they're related.
I was also going to ask.
Let's dive into the Bundesliga to take a look at some quick results out of there, guys. Mainz beaten at home by Bayer Leverkusen 1-0. And then RB Leipzig getting a good road win against Augsburg. That one ended 2-0. Well, Bayern Munich, they were imperious against Arminia Bielefeld, 4-1 winners. And Robert Lewandowski and Thomas Muller getting a brace each. These two, when they fire, Bayern Munich invariably wins, don't they, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect combination, mainly because I think they've got two very distinct roles. Robert Lewandowski's goal is to stick the ball into the back of the net, and Thomas Muller doesn't have any problems playing as an old-fashioned number 10. His job is to fashion out chances for his teammates, and he's very comfortable in that role, Barry, racking up the assists as opposed to the goals. This time, he was in and amongst the goals. I mean, it was a very creative performance, and also he took the chances that came his way very well, Thomas Muller. Very underappreciated player at Bayern Munich, but over the last decade, arguably their best player.
Yeah, I would agree with that assertion. But a very rude awakening for Arminia Bielefeld. Of course, they are a promoted side, 4-1 against the champions. Borussia Dortmund, well, they needed a second half goal by substitute Marco Reus to beat Hoffenheim 1-0. They'll certainly be happy with the 3 points. So looking at all those performances, let's take a look at who is the German star of the week. They may not necessarily be German, but certainly turning out in the German league. Chris, what say you?
It was a toss-up. So you have a Milodowski situation. That's what they've been dubbed. So those two players, absolutely brilliant for Bayern Munich. But I'm going to have to go with Thomas Müller. He was incredible, scoring 2 goals from midfield. Also an assist. I think he gave one of the assists for Lewandowski's goals. So I think he was the man of the match, and also just an incredible player this past weekend.
Incredible player, certainly, Thomas Muller. And Chris calling him a midfielder. We don't know what to call him in truth. He's an attacker, midfielder, plays between the lines. He plays everywhere. Just let him play his football. He doesn't look attractive, but certainly plays entertaining football.
The first legs of the CAF Champions League semi-finals were played this weekend. Morocco versus Egypt, and Egypt coming out on top because Zamalek last night edging out Raja Casablanca 1-0, and on Saturday night, Pitso Motsimane guiding Al Ahly to an impressive 2-0 win at Wydad Casablanca. Now let's hear from Thomas Konaite, who spoke about Al Ahly.
I have to say the reason why Pitso has been successful in defeating Wydad Casablanca in Morocco is the fact that he's He's one of those few coaches that studies their opponent. And I'm not surprised because he has played against Wydad Casablanca on numerous occasions, and while he was with Sundowns, and the encounters have been very, very close. And Pitso is one of those guys who will tell you that he knows how West Africans play, and he would plan thoroughly according to their strengths and weaknesses. And I think one of the reasons why he never struggles against many North African sides is because of the fact that he has one of those most experienced match analysis, or rather video analysts, the guy he took from Sundowns to form part of his technical team. So Pitso, believe you me, Pitso doesn't sleep. He eats, drinks, and watches football. Don't take this for granted. I think it's a major, major achievement due to the fact that he achieved this objective while defeating Wydad Casablanca in their own backyard.
Chris Thomas Quinaita, of course, a very respected authority on African football, a man who knows Pitso so well, saying that he's not surprised that Pitso got the job done versus Wydad.
Definitely. I think what we know of Pitso is that he's very good at studying the opponent and managing to get those tactics right to get a result, especially in crunch time situations like this. He's a new coach. He needs to perform. He needs to make sure that his team is winning, and he's done so in superb fashion this past weekend.
Oh, well, it's a pity I backed with that. I think it looks like Al Ahly, Alois, they've got one foot in the final, surely.
Yeah, of course they are. They've got one foot in the final. Mike, they played away and they won 2-0, and we spoke about it. And my prediction, I'm happy it might just come up. Zamalek versus Al Ahly in the final for me.
Right, so it looks like it could be an all-Egyptian affair. Remember, it's happening this weekend, the second legs between those teams. Zamalek will need to just see off Raja to make sure that they play Al Ahly, who look like they've done it all to get into that final. And what a thriller this weekend promises to be as Morocco tries to get back in the contest.
It's over to you, Egypt, and we'll see if it's Egypt that will be in the final. Remember, Pitso Mosimane could actually be in the running. In fact, he is in the running to earn himself a second win of the CAF Champions League. That'll be some achievement. Well, hopefully we've achieved something by delivering this show to you, but we've got to go now. We'll catch you tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.